One thing I've kind of realized in just doing my own research is that it's kind of like a step up. People are stepping up. So for me, just looking at it, it's like, oh my God, I can't afford what I want. I feel like sometimes we don't realize where people who are in the market for these really expensive properties, they're stepping up. They started in something, maybe a condo, and so I feel like that makes it feel more attainable for me.
Welcome to the Build Up Podcast. I'm Priscilla Facey, founder CEO of Build Up Development Co. We are here to talk to inspiring entrepreneurs about their financial past, present, and future. We're going to talk about building wealth and stability from people who were exactly where you are now. Joining me today is my co-host, Blake Carter, host of the morning show on Flow. As well, today we have Osob Mohamud, beauty influencer, and she's going to talk to us about her journey from her 9-to-5 into now becoming a mega beauty influencer star, dare I say. Thanks so much. So I'm so excited. Mm-hmm. Please tell us where you started, how you got into doing this. I believe it was a side hustle.
Yeah, so I basically started when I was on my mat leave. I was really into YouTube at the time, and it was like everyone was doing their own makeup, and I would follow tutorials, and then I started posting it on Instagram. And yeah, because I was kind of in a niche market, there wasn't a lot of girls who were doing what I do, looking like how I look. I just gained organic following pretty quickly.
Wow, that's amazing. And so, okay, so you were on mat leave, and then eventually, I presume you went back to work, and you were still building a following online?
Yeah, so basically, drawing a blank. I was on mat leave, and as soon as I went back to work, it kind of slowed down for me a little bit, just because it's really hectic with like a new baby and
I was gonna say going back to work with a baby and doing.
Yeah, so for me, it was kind of like a passion project. So I used to just do it on the weekends, and whenever I had time, I would update with my looks, and I was like growing super, super quickly, and it was kind of overwhelming at the time. I feel like I was kind of, my focus wasn't really on my social media because I didn't really think of it as like something I could make money from or like as a business, which I soon learned that it is, and it's definitely like.
You were just treating it like a hobby,
yeah,
like just for fun.
Whenever I had time and, you know, just for fun. For laughs and giggles. And then I started going to more events and meeting other people who are doing the same thing as me. And I realized like, wow, like just hearing their stories about how much they were making and what opportunities they were getting from it. And I was like, I'm not taking this seriously enough.
Yeah.
Like this is a mega billion-dollar industry.
Yeah, there's big money to be made.
Yeah,
Beauty's the biggest one.
I know, and I think I'm really like grateful for that because I feel like, especially in this industry, it's kind of like hard to get information because it's kind of like secretive and people don't really want to share their rates or what they've made, and just been doing this for so long that I've met so many like really genuine people and that are just happy to share and happy to, you know, the more transparent we can be, the more honest our industry can be.
Yeah, and we were just talking about that on another episode. Like, I don't understand all the secrecy and I mean, around salary and income, and especially with women and the wealth gap, like we really need to share what our rates are. We need to share how much we're earning because
especially with our coworkers and peers. So like, we know that we're all kind of on the same page, and then you can always come together and be like, no, this is what we deserve.
Our worth.
Yeah, and you had a similar experience where you didn't know.
I've had so many experiences because I often work in radio with male co-hosts, and hearing what they were making compared to me was shocking, which I always overheard secretly. They'd be doing some kind of like banking in the studio, and I would hear them like say their last deposit or something. I remember that's how I found out, because he was locked out of his bank account, and he was telling you, they're like, well, what was your last deposit? And he's like, a check from whatever company we work for. And then I can hear the lady say how much, and I'm kind of listening. And then I go and do my math, and I'm like, he's making like triple what I'm making right now, and we're doing the same job. If not, maybe I'm doing a little more work. And so I've had so many situations like that, but once you talk and get a good relationship with other people that are doing what you're doing, you are able to come together and be like, we demand this much.
Yeah.
So you were able to establish a reasonable rate and really monetize and make it a real business.
Yes. Yeah.
And so you were still working your 9-to-5 though. So how did you make the shift and the transition into doing this full time?
It got to the point where I was trying to juggle both. I started to be more active on my social media. I started to take it seriously, pitching brands, trying to make more business from it. And it got to a point where I was struggling keeping up the business side of my social media, my influencing business. And then my 9 to 5 was also affected because I was constantly having to pop out, go to networking events. It's really different because, the industry that I'm in, they don't work that traditional hours. And so I kind of felt like I was trapped in my 9 to 5 because I couldn't take advantage of the opportunities that were available to me because I was busy doing that. And it got to the point where I realized that, I'm making more from my side business that I spend like maybe 20% of my time doing versus my 9 to 5, which I spend 80% of my time in. And so it just didn't make sense to me to continue.
What could you do if you went at it full time,
Yeah.
100%? How did you, I'm really always curious with influencers, because with my line of work, people always want to send you stuff to repost and stuff. How did you take it from just somebody sending you something for free and wanting to get a free repost to actually getting paid to post?
I definitely feel like a lot of brands take advantage, especially when someone's new, just happy to get anything and being like, yeah, we'll send you this. And, we want this X amount of posts. And so you're just happy because you don't realize the power of your influence.
Yeah.
And so I think for me, one thing that really helped me was a management agency that I was with at the time when I first started to realize like I want to monetize this for myself. And so they kind of just gave me a breakdown and I was shocked at the numbers. Like what I'm charging 1/10 of this, thinking like, wow, I'm making mad money. And
so you didn't really realize the
No.
value and your worth.
No, and
what
these
you
are
were
like,
doing.
sorry to cut you off, but like major brands that were taking advantage of me. And like,
Yeah, they'll be like, here's a free lip gloss,
Yeah.
just post us on your thing. When meanwhile you have how many followers that are all going to go buy that lip gloss?
Honestly, and they'll do that if you let them.
They
right?
will.
So fortunately, you got to a point where you had a manager and you were able to understand what your value was.
Yeah,
And
and
charge accordingly.
that same major brand came around and paid me 10 times what they were paying me in the past because they realized, oh, well, okay, the jig is up. We're going to figure it out.
Gravy train's over.
Yeah, and so for me, I just want to get that out there. Like if anybody ever contacts me or if I see girls who are kind of new to this, I just want to because it only benefits all of us if we are sharing the knowledge. So if another girl is going out and charging like X amount, like way under rate, that's going to negatively affect me and other girls who are, asking for our market rate, like what we deserve. And so I feel like that transparency that we were talking about, it only helps in every business.
Of course. And so what challenges did you have? I mean, I know eventually you started doing this full time. What did your family think? What was that response like?
So for my siblings, like they're more woke into like what it is to be, doing what I'm doing and they understand. So they were like so happy. They were the ones that were pushing me to do it more full time. I feel like my parents kind of have that like immigrant mentality at the time of like, no, you need to stick to what's safe, to what we know,
And there's only like receptionist, doctor, like there's only set jobs that make sense to them.
Yeah.
And safe, and a 9 to 5 where someone else is writing your paycheck and
Yeah.
you're clocking in. That's the definition of safe.
Yeah. And not knowing that I can be laid off from that job at any time,
Yep.
So I feel like for them, they just, at the time, didn't really understand. And I feel like once I started bringing them into it more, like I did a collaboration with L'Oreal and they wanted my mother to be a part of it. And so I feel like she just got a glimpse of my world and, she was just blown away by.
And did she get her own check for that?
Yeah, of
too?
course. Negotiated that for her. Because I feel like
Cool
it's
that you
fair.
got to involve her in it and
Yeah.
make her part of it.
And she was so like excited
Did you get her
when
own
it came
Instagram
out.
page?
No.
She's not
You
that
don't want to create a monster.
No, but she got to see the kind of the other side of content creation, and I showed her a little bit of the business side because obviously I wanted to make sure that she was fairly compensated, and so she just really was just blown away by
Wow. Yeah.
what it was, like the value of what we were doing. And even with my dad, we did a campaign around rheumatoid arthritis, which he has, and I just wanted to share his story, and so he was also like really just like he couldn't believe the amount of comments he was getting and like people who could like connect to him. So he's like, wow, like these are like these are real people that are seeing this, I feel like sometimes they think it's kind of like a make-believe world of social media. So it was cool that I could make it
And
real
negative, right? I mean, you're a Muslim woman, you're doing beauty influencing. So I imagine, did you have any issues just within the wider community?
Yes, for sure. I feel like anytime you kind of put yourself out there, you are going to get all types of feedback, like negative, positive. I feel like with my community, sometimes I feel like I can get a lot of negative feedback, especially the way I dress. Beauty is definitely stigmatized. And so at first it was really difficult to me, just dealing with that, because you're not really used to people saying these things to your face.
Sure.
Or like at least online. And so I feel like I'm at a point now though where I'm just so content in who I am and what I have to offer that it doesn't affect me. It's just like block, delete. Whereas before I would just like, it would almost make me hesitant to keep going because it's like.
It affects you. You can get 20 amazing comments and you get one bad comment and your whole week is thrown off.
Yeah.
You've got to really be strong inside in order to really be able to kind of put up that wall and understand that you're comfortable with who you are and what you're doing.
Yeah, and I had to shift my focus because one thing I realized is when I get these influx of negative comments, it's not usually my following. Like people who follow me, they like to see my stuff. They're not going to leave me negative comments most of the time. But when my content gets pushed out to like greater audiences, that's when I get just more opinions, and I started just to shift my focus of like, wow, like so many more people are seeing me, and that's where I'm getting this negative, but that means that my story, myself is getting more further out there, my, audience is growing, and so I just had like a reel go viral right now, and so it's like, what are these, like all these comments coming from? And then I'm like, oh, okay, it makes sense. Like,
And it also means that you're pushing boundaries, right?
Yeah.
And like whenever you challenge the status quo or a stereotype that people are accustomed to or even comfortable with, there's always going to be those, droplets of that negativity. And so, I mean, I think it's obviously, so inspiring that you're able to push through that. So, okay, so here you are obviously ultra successful in what you're doing. And tell me a little bit about your habits, because you went from a 9 to 5, a very steady, same number that gets deposited into the bank account every week. Now you're earning all of this money. Do you have advice? Do you have a mentor? Do you have maybe your parents kind of advising you on what to do with this influx in income that you've got?
I do have advice. I kind of created like a money team for myself just because there's no one in my...
a money team.
Yeah, it feels nice to say. But I feel like I just came from a background where, I didn't have the support for dealing with these kind of things, And so I realized early on that's not something I can handle on my own, especially making mistakes with your taxes, and it's just like a mess. And
you don't want CRA calling you.
Yeah, no, you don't. And so I'm kind of currently battling my mentality of like hoarding money, like making all this money. It's like, yes, I want to save it, keep it to myself. And so I think just from COVID and joining different groups, I just joined Clubhouse. And so I'm realizing the power of investment, of trying to make money for you. And so I'm slowly kind of like just releasing my fists.
Into that world. Yeah, and I know it's something that's really interesting because one of my parents immigrated, and it's that mentality of you go somewhere new, you just save. You save everything you can, and there isn't, in Jamaican culture, my dad's Jamaican, and it's always work. If you have some time on the weekend, you catch a weekend job, you're working in the week, you have 5-6 jobs. Like this is just, it's a constant culture of just work. And there's not enough discussion around, okay, when you get the money, now what? And the funny thing is now I'm at a point where I realize that's actually the most critical thing. When you have the money, what you do with it is gonna either keep you here or it's gonna bring you there. And we were just talking about this, about like what money can buy you, and it can buy you, freedom. It can give you choice. It gives you power, but not in the typical sense where you watch the 101 Dalmatians or any Disney movie, and the people with money are always the bad guys. They're rich and powerful. Like it's a very good thing to be able to have that financial stability. And so it's phenomenal that you have a money team, and you're on Clubhouse because it is such a fantastic platform. Oh my gosh, it's mind-blowing moments all day.
It's good though that you at least that you save though, that you have that. Because like for me, if I had started having like large sums of money coming in, I'm just like, what can I buy? What trip can I
You
take?
feel rich.
Yeah, like I'm the opposite. I'm like, let's spend it. So I think having a money team, people to advise you, speaking to experts, because like definitely I'm not an expert about finances, so you need to go and seek out those people who can help you.
For sure. And I feel like I have, developed more friendships with people. And one of my friends is really into investing, and he gave me this advice of like, scared money doesn't make it no money. And I was like, I'm just so like, I don't want to lose, because since January, he's like showed me his portfolio with his investment and like doubled it. And then I was like, wow, like this is amazing. But he's like, you have to remember, like this goes up and down. I've lost money, and it's just like really scary.
Well, the stock market is definitely quite volatile. Like there are, you see any image when someone thinks of the stock market, it's literally the up and down strokes. And this is in part like why with real estate investing, it is for me a lot more sound, a lot more stable. If you look at the Toronto real estate market, they put out the annual average house prices every year. And when you look at the chart from like 1982 to now, it's been this. There was a little dip in 2008 and it's been this. And anyone who lives, in the Toronto area and even in any big city, I'm sure you can quite, do the same math, but it's literally, the average house price was $200,000 in, 1982. And now we're sitting at about 900K for the average price, and this is for the entire region. And so it's just something that if you have cash and you've succeeded step one, like acquiring the money, and then to ascend to that next level. For example, if you take in $50,000, 4 years ago and put it into a pre-construction condo, you would have made probably about $200,000 by now. That's literally where the Toronto market has gone. And so the importance of investing is so critical, and it's in part why, I'm shouting from the mountains, really encouraging people to invest in real estate and just invest, period. Understand what investing means, right? And you've got people just like you and so many other women who have now coming into this position of like, oh my gosh, I'm actually like, I have financial stability now and I have a growing business, and taking that business and really taking it to that next level through, investing in like, so your money team, it's a good team to have.
Yeah, I think for me, just being like a millennial in Toronto and thinking of the housing market is so scary and like impossible. And one thing I've kind of realized in just doing my own research is that it's kind of like a step up. People are stepping up. So for me, just looking at it, it's like, oh my God, I can't afford what I want. But it's like, I feel like sometimes we don't realize where people who are in the market for these really expensive properties, they're stepping up. They started in something, maybe a condo, and so I feel like that makes it feel more attainable for me.
Not everybody out of the gate is buying a big, huge house in Toronto.
Yeah.
And of course, and it's even as well, even just looking at it from a little bit of a different angle, where you're investing in real estate, you're looking at real estate as an investment. So maybe you keep living where you live, and if you're renting, keep renting where you need to live, but looking, okay, where can I buy just to get my money plugged into real estate? And maybe you're buying, in a smaller town, in a smaller city where prices are much more affordable. You can get a mortgage quite easily, and so at least starting there, and then that builds up, and then eventually, you sell that, got some savings, and you plug that into the place that you want to live in, where you need to live. And so it's so fantastic. I'm so inspired that like you even have a money team. I didn't really realize this existed for millennials, so that's good. Gives me hope. But yeah, absolutely. Okay, so where do you see yourself in 5 years from now?
I definitely want to keep doing what I'm doing. Like I would love to do this forever. It's like my dream job. I see myself with increasing my personal brand. I have a modest fashion clothing line that's launching soon, so I hope that's super successful. I definitely want to have invested in real estate so I can look back and be like, well, I got it when it was like this much, instead of thinking,
I bought it at 900,000,
Yeah, because I had a friend, a coworker, he bought a place in Ajax, and I was like, oh, who wants to be in Ajax? And now it's like, I wish I was in Ajax. So definitely want to take advantage while I can of the opportunities that I have, of the income that I'm making, and just keep going.
Awesome. And so what advice would you give to your younger self? Because there's, lots of younger selves of all of us out there. What would you tell yourself, 10 years ago?
I would tell myself that it's possible. I feel like I just thought a certain lifestyle is for a certain type of person. And so like just out the gate, I wasn't cut out for this. Like I'm not meant, I would never consider myself to be someone with an entrepreneurial spirit. I always thought I was like just ready for the average route and the average life, which I was great with. So I never ever thought of myself as a risk taker or someone who would ever quit their job just to work for themselves. And so I definitely feel like if I can go back in time, I would tell myself anything is possible. Like you don't have to have, like when I was younger, my dream was to become a doctor. And so once I realized it wasn't really for me, I feel like I kind of was like, oh, well, that's it. Then I guess I'll never have the lifestyle that I want because I wasn't cut out to that one career. And I didn't realize that anyone can make any type of money that they are, looking for, or, be happy in their own kind of niche market.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be what you thought for yourself at 17.
Yes. Well, that's fantastic advice. So on that note, thanks so much for joining us. And if you loved what you heard, you can follow us on Instagram at BuildUpDevCo, or on Clubhouse, we are the Real Estate Wealth Club. On that note, on behalf of the Build Up team, thanks for listening. For more must-have financial knowledge, follow us on Instagram at BuildUpDevCo, or find us on Clubhouse. We are the Real Estate Wealth Club.